Hi, everyone. Today things sound a little different because we have a special Work Friends episode, our first ever live recording from the Tech Futures Summit in New York. I sat down with Breanna Stewart and Lindsay Kagawa to discuss their careers, as well as some of the biggest headlines currently coming out of the WNBA. A timely conversation. I couldn't think of a better combination of my interests. Sending a big thank you to Leanne Pittsford of Tech Futures for making this possible and Pier 17 for hosting the event. Hope you enjoy this episode as much as I did. I'm Sally Christensen, the founder and CEO of Argent, a women's workwear brand. And this is Work Friends, a podcast for those who take their work, but not always themselves, seriously. Work Friends. Hi, everyone. I'm Sally Christensen, the founder and CEO of Argent, a women's workwear brand. And this is our first live episode of Work Friends. Today on Work Friends, I am very excited because I'm joined by Breanna Stewart, forward for the New York Liberty, and Lindsay Kagawa, the Executive Vice President of Talent and the Collective at Wasserman. Stewie is a two-time WNBA MVP, two-time WNBA champion, and Olympic gold medalist. This is great energy. She's also the co-founder of Unrivaled, a women's professional basketball league that is opening up new opportunities for fellow athletes in the States. Lindsay represents some of the biggest athletes and Olympians in the world, including Stewie, as well as Diana Taurasi, Paige Beckers, Maya Moore, Brittany Griner, Ibtihaj Mohammed, Harper Murray, Nisha Kanadi, and Scout Bassett. Both Stewie and Lindsay's work sparks attention and societal change. They are cultural conversation starters and actively working to push the status quo. I am honored to have them both join me today and speak more about their work on and off the court. Had to do it. I want to start from the beginning. We all have people who have set strong early examples of work ethic. And I think especially for those of us who have played sports growing up, there's the statistic that executives, I think 90+% played a sport. So for me, I remember watching the NBA, watching the W, Lisa Leslie, Rebecca Lobo, Cheryl Swoops, and those women really inspired me, and I think that that's a transferable skill set into career. So I'd just love to hear from both of you early examples of work that's left a lasting impression on you. And Stewie, I'll start with you.
Hello, everybody. I think people that left a lasting impression on me, I have a few answers when I was younger. Like my mom and my grandma, just seeing them constantly show up and do their jobs. They were not professional basketball players or athletes or anything like that, but they still showed how to work hard. And then my dad was the one that really got me into the sport, and he was the one that I was following, and then he was following me. And now, being in Brooklyn and playing here in New York has been incredible because I'm from upstate, and he's just able to come down whenever he wants.
Lindsay?
Yeah, definitely mom and dad. I am the product of what happens when a high school guidance counselor, boys basketball coach has a kid with a paralegal turned encyclopedia salesperson, and then you get an agent, obviously. But early on, my dad being a high school coach, I was around basketball and all sports a lot. The smell of an old gym feels and really, really good to me, as much as a smell can feel. I grew up there, and he was always the first one to the gym, wiping down the floor, making sure everything was set. At night, he was doing practice plans, and he had on the calendar in our house, which was also his game calendar, of course, work-life integration, It was the priorities, and it was family, school, basketball. And he coached high school basketball instead of going on to other levels because he wanted to be present for our family. But the way that he ran his team was very much about integrity. And I think that really informs everything that I do, certainly the things that the people that we work with and the things that we choose to advance, is that's really a core value for me, because sports teaches you do it right, right? Train right, be ready, practice hard, and preparation.
Totally. Resilience. I mean,
All
the
that.
list goes on and on. It's a nice segue going into your career. You've been working with athletes for over 20 years. Too young for that, but early in your career, you were focused on the NBA. What did you witness working with the NBA that stands out in contrast to when you moved to the WNBA?
It was just a standard of professionalism and what that meant, right? So when the guy walks in the room, there's all these people from the NBA buzzing around, making sure he has what he needs or introducing him to sponsors. But really the difference was storytelling, right? There was a visibility gap. Too hard to find WNBA games. There wasn't enough media coverage, right? And so that is what has changed over the years, is our ability to access storytelling and for games for you to be able to find them. But early on, starting on the men's side gave me exposure to what the standard can or should be. And then the really radical idea that I advanced through choosing to work exclusively with women was that those same standards should apply to women, right? That there should be equity in the resources. So that was uncommon 20 years ago, and thankfully it's starting to become more of the norm.
Yeah, and I think that you have been a large part of that. I know a lot of your athletes that I've talked to appreciate your commitment to their brand. And so I think, just to level set, I think you have one of those jobs that is all-encompassing, but is used as a catch-all and not always really clearly defined. Can you define your role as an agent?
Well, I'll say this. I think representing women, and I think people here know this specifically, we got to wear a lot of hats, right? There's time poverty all the time. There's never enough time in the day to get done everything you want to get done because you have so many different responsibilities. And so while players like Stewie are building business and gaining legitimacy, right, and fighting for recognition, I'm doing the same thing in my job, because when she's paid less, I'm paid less. And so that means I'm able to provide less resources relative to the revenue that's coming in. So I've got to do more jobs, right? That's different now. At Wasserman, we have more people working on our women athletes relative to our revenue than any other department at Wasserman. And that's an investment, that's a choice, right? And so that's an investment in the future, and it's an investment in what athletes like Stewie mean, not just to sport, but to culture.
Yeah, I think your commitment from those early years is what's so remarkable. Now, we're going to get into this for sure around pay and the ripple effects of the inequality that exists. I'm going to switch over to you, Stewie. So you went from a star at UConn, number 1 overall pick in the WNBA draft in 2016. During that time, you signed with Wasserman and started working with Lindsay. What guidance did you or your peers have for how to sign contracts, negotiate pay, at the start of your career?
At the beginning of my career, it was like, I don't know, there's no NIL. You come out of college, you go to the WNBA, you sign with an agent. I signed with Lindsay. I'm making, I don't know, $45,000 in the WNBA for my rookie contract.
And that's the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Something. And then you go overseas. So I went to China. Like that's how my world worked in the beginning. And to where it is now is a completely different place, and just an appreciation for everybody that's here, continuing to help uplift women's sports and specifically women's basketball. But there was a lot of learning, and that's what I feel from when I started then to where I am now. And even after being in some of these rooms because of CBA negotiations or, having to figure out what, shoe deal and dealing with Puma, like Lindsay and I are doing a lot of that, but also Unrivaled. You learn a lot. Everybody here loves Unrivaled. I love that.
What an enthusiasm. What a crowd.
Rightfully, I would say.
But I think but that's really it. And this is not an answer to your question, but I'm just digressing a little bit just because I want to.
It's a friendly crowd.
It's a friendly crowd. One of my first interactions with Lindsay after I started working with her was like, Lindsay was the one that helped me kind of get my Me Too article out there. So I feel like that's how we bonded, is understanding what's important and what's not, and really kind of following that and going forward with that. So I've said thank you. I've said thank you, but I'll say thank you again on stage with the sun beaming on me.
Thank you.
It's just a lot of different moments that we can share our stories, and people like Lindsay are able to help us do that.
Yeah, I think there are two directions I want to go in. One is one of the most recognizable faces of the W. I think, as when you're representing a marginalized group, which in the W, it's like you're fighting for equal pay and you're having to shoulder the burden of that as one of the stars within the W. That's a lot of pressure. I think, that's, Lindsay, also where you come in and think about that full package. So I want to talk about Unrivaled. Before we get into that, I want to ask you, Lindsay, about the inclusion rider. And for those who don't know, Lindsay negotiated the first ever inclusion rider into an athlete's contract in 2018. And I think that speaks to the importance of having representation that has another experience, right? As a mom, as someone who is just coming, representing a different point of view, you're able to advocate for your athletes. Can you paint a picture of the most essential details to negotiate into the contract, and would you do anything differently with those negotiations today?
Yeah, I'm glad that you asked. I feel like it didn't get a big enough cheer, but I feel like that's just because I need to explain it. So look, bottom line, I think the idea of the inclusion rider, or lots of things that we try and codify into contracts, right? Thanks for the promise, but what if you don't have your job? My husband likes to say, what if you win the lottery and aren't in that seat anymore? Promises are fine, but we got to get in the contract, right? And systemic change has to happen in those ways. We all understand elections, right? So I knew, one day I was watching. Oh, so this is the value of diversity, right? When you have people at the table negotiating, representing women who are going to think about those things because of their lived experience, that is adding value, right? And that is the value of diversity and of representation. Right? So we have to have each other's back in those ways, right? We get to have an intimate type conversations based on my personal experience, willingness to share and grow and be vulnerable in sharing those things, and know that things that I've gone through, I did IVF 8 times, right? To have my one kid, the second kid was a total miracle, totally separate panel. But that experience, thank you, was extremely hard, but was also extremely valuable in helping to counsel clients, right, in exploring their options in how to start a family, because you can do it all different sorts of ways, and believe me, I learned a lot about it. So as it relates to the inclusion rider, I was watching TV, and it was actually Frances McDermott who won an award, and she said in her acceptance speech 2 words: inclusion rider. It's like, what is that? ChatGPT wasn't there. We go to Google or whatever it was, changemaker partner, we'll say Google. And I get into like, oh, this is really interesting. Well, I happen to represent Simone Manuel, who was the first Black woman to win an individual Olympic gold medal in swimming, which is in and of itself, right, this heroic and political event, right? And so as I'm recruiting Simone, it's like, hey, if you want to build a business around the idea that you can create opportunity for other people, we can do that, and here's one way we can do it. So the inclusion rider was inspired by Hollywood and then put into an apparel contract with a swim provider, and it essentially just said, hey, when you have the opportunity and it relates to Simone Manuel's business, Signature Swim, whatever it is, and we are going to be interviewing vendors or getting bids, we need to get a certain amount of bids and interview people who represent historically marginalized communities. So let's make sure that through Simone, we are giving people an opportunity to build their book of business so that no one can say, well, you've never done that before. And that went into the contract. And we weren't forcing it on this company. They love this idea. And that's the beautiful thing, is that these kinds of ideas do resonate with people, right? And so putting it into language, we could then refer back to it, and it became the foundation for what her business was built around.
Totally. I think that's the point. It's not a zero-sum game, but no one has thought to innovate or pioneer in this way. And I do think that's what's remarkable about your career. Just for context, so the documentary Tarasi came out recently. I'm sure a lot of folks in the room have seen the documentary. I think it's excellent if you have not. But it does tell the story, and Stewie touched on this earlier, of the need to supplement the pay that these players are offered in the W by playing abroad and oftentimes leaving their families. And that's the expectation you entered the league with, right? So this documentary follows the story of Tarasi and Sue Bird having to go play in Russia, for a large part of the year. That's still happening, right? You used to have the Brittany Griner incident very recently, same situation there. And I think what Stewie, you are doing with Unrivaled, that's why it's so innovative. So for those who don't know, it's a league co-founded with Nafisa Collier and her husband, Alex. She's the forward for the Minnesota Lynx and launched at the start of this year. But I want to hear you talk about the goal with Unrivaled and what the white space is that you're filling and, why you felt the need to bring it to life and bring it to life now.
I mean, we're very, very happy with the success of Unrivaled from the inaugural season last year in Miami. I think that why we brought it because there's an opportunity and there's a space for professional women's basketball players to be home, to be in market, to be in different markets than the WNBA, and to capitalize on that. But also for Fee and I, being moms, having our kids, not wanting to be away for all of the holidays and things like that, this was really important. And at some point, we had to stop the hamster wheel of what was happening, where you go in the WNBA, you play overseas. And now it's a way where you can go to the WNBA and then you play Unrivaled. And, excited to say that majority of the players playing in Unrivaled this season are making more than they make in a WNBA season, which is really exciting. And you know what? We're just gonna keep building off of it because obviously there's space. People want to come. You guys come to games, I hope, and we're gonna changes that we're having from last year to this year. We're gonna have more seats. We're gonna have more teams, which means more players. We're gonna go to Philly. 4 teams are gonna go to Philly at the end of January, and we're just gonna compete. We're gonna have fun. We're gonna play hard and really represent our sport in the best way that we know how.
In your mind, how does it ideally coexist with the W?
In an ideal world, we do what we're doing. You play Unrivaled, then you'll have a 1-2 month gap where you can rest and recover your body because it's important. Mm-hmm. And then you get ready for the WNBA. And then when the WNBA finishes, you have that similar gap, depending on how far your team goes. Because I think that the thing that was really getting missed in all of this was the rest, was the recovery. That wasn't happening 5-10 years ago. And now people are understanding why we need it. Also, we're playing way more games in the WNBA than we ever have. And figuring out how we can maintain but also be better than what we were.
So incredible. Yeah. Congratulations. It's really innovative. It's again, it's what we talked about earlier, but just the chance to stay stateside, be with your family, be compensated fairly, and what that's offering all the players and all their families, it's remarkable. Lindsay, and I touched on this, so Brittany Griner, detained in a Russian prison. As you shared in an LA Times op-ed a few years ago, at its underbelly lies a story of gender pay disparity here in the United States. And that is a common theme that we're going to continue talking about in this conversation. And it's a conversation that's happening more broadly right now across the W. Can you shed a bit more light on how pay disparity harms women athletes and how athletes continue to struggle today, even after that traumatic event? And what actions you've had to take, even if risky, to work on behalf of your clients in these moments? Loaded question, sorry.
How much time do we have? Okay, well, I got to start off. Stewie gave me one, so I'm going to give her one back. Stewie posted every single day of BG's detention that you knew about. She knew she was detained before it was public. Stewie posted every single day. And that they were teammates in Russia, and that type of consistency and showing up for each other is exactly what makes this so special, right? That was meaningful. It became the reference point for all of us. Stewie was keeping track, Stewie was timing it, and it goes to the idea that everyone can make a contribution. And that consistency was really courageous, and I appreciated it a lot because that was hard. Look, the lack of investment and the inequity is systemic, and it affects every level. And I think we understand the way that it affects player pay, but then what that connects to, that's wellness resources, right? That's how good are the services that you can have around you. That's off-season training, but it's also the refs, right? It's also coaching, right? So if an assistant coach in the NBA can make more money being an assistant coach in the NBA than a head coach in the WNBA, that's a problem, right? Or if we don't have enough women coaches of color, former players, as candidates for coaching jobs in the W, that's systemic. That's because we have not invested in a pipeline to make sure that people are ready. And so we're at this inflection point where a lack of investment and inequitable investment, we are seeing all of these symptoms, right? But the cause is really a lack of investment. And the players have to carry the burden, right, of that failing system as they show up and put it on the line every day.
Stewie, I would be remiss not to ask about the statements that Nafisa Collier made about a week ago regarding WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert and ongoing CBA negotiations. Among them, she claimed that the commissioner made comments that players should be, quote, on their knees thanking their lucky stars for their deals. And this is all despite WNBA players still not being paid equal to their male counterparts in the NBA, despite the growth of the overarching business. So, firstly, what was your reaction to Nafisa's statement?
My reaction to Fee's statement is I agree with Fee. You know, I stand 100% with Fee and what she said. I think, yeah, we like that. I don't know. I think it's hard to see that kind of interaction transpire, to hear about it, and then no, you still have to have negotiations and continue to be cordial across the table. So definitely agree with Fee. Was there more questions?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And there will be. In your experience, are the criticisms of the league warranted?
Yes. I think the criticisms of the league are definitely warranted. As you guys all know, we're at an inflection point. We are negotiating our new CBA. We've obviously opted out. We see the TV deal that's coming into play. We understand how money is driving things, but and as players, we know that we are the product. But sometimes I feel like the league is not understanding that and not being fully transparent with us. So I think that our messaging right now is it's not personal. It is business. Show us. You know what I mean? Like, let's actually talk about it.
So the agreement expires on October 31st. How are you navigating the current tension, and what specifically are players asking for?
I think how I'm navigating it, I think it's a little bit frustrating. From a player perspective, we're all on the same page. We're not going to settle for anything less. Which is potentially a lockout if we don't agree. So basically, for you guys, like we can clap. I like clapping. If we don't agree by October 31st, that doesn't mean like, oh my God, this season isn't happening. It just means that there'll be an extension. You know, we'll extend, and that means we'll have more days to talk about it. But there's just a lot of open-ended questions that we have that are never getting answered. For example, you guys remember the $75 million that was raised a few years back? Like, where did that money go? What did that go into? You know, because you're consistently and constantly undervaluing us as players and what we're negotiating and asking for as far as revenue share. But I feel like we're not getting, like, we're being an open book and they're not.
Yeah.
And without that level of transparency, there's going to be tough conversations to come. And I'll be at one tomorrow. We have a CBA meeting tomorrow that I'll be at.
As a star in the league, how do you choose when to show up, how to show up? There's a lot of pressure with that, right? Like there's a magic to that. And I think Lindsay too, you play a part in that as well. But there's certainly a strategy, I would imagine, to how you use your platform and your voice.
I mean, I think that the way that I'm using my platform is I'm going to continue to uplift and amplify. I think that I know myself very well, and I know that I'm not going to settle for anything less. I'm not going to do anything that's less than what I deserve and what this league deserves, and making sure to just keep educating people on where we're at. You know, not everybody understands or not everybody knows like revenue share and BRI and all those things, but it's a complicated process, and some things are good and then some things aren't. But the way that there's been a dramatic increase in money, viewership, attendance across the board and in the WNBA across all teams shows that there's a want and a desire for what we have here, and making the league want that too, I guess.
Yeah, there's a great New York Times article that came out recently that has a nice graph to support this, and it basically shows the incredible skyrocketing business of the WNBA, and the player salaries just stay pretty stagnant within that. Lindsay, you're navigating this in a different way, and I think that your role is often, in these behind the scenes conversations, both with the players, but also with the executives of the league, the commissioner, et cetera. What does this conversation look like for you?
My job is to represent players, right? And to truly understand what is important to them, but also be able to see around the corner, right? And if you're talking about strategy, you have to see the whole chessboard, right? So I think my role is to come in and make sure that we're having conversations about what the right questions are to ask and understanding what assumptions we're making. I was just in the car on the way here talking to a GM of a team, just getting her point of view, right, on what's happening and understanding what teams are saying. Because in the end, it's not personal, because everybody who's in this is making an investment, right? I have yet to commission on a WNBA contract. And no one needs to feel sorry for me. That's not what that is. It is, we have all been invested in growing this league. Players have been invested because, you mentioned the Taurasi documentary, Stewie could have made a lot more money playing exclusively in Europe this entire time. Mm-hmm. I mean, that is a fact. She chose not to, and it's why I don't commission, to play in the WNBA, to build the business as a legacy and as something for the people who come next. For the players you see today, for Paige Beckers, right, to earn so disproportionately less than she should, right, but to understand the people who have sacrificed and built this league for them. And that's something Stewie talks about a lot too, right, pension for players. That's something the women care a lot about. The women care a lot about making sure the players who came before them, not just the Dianas, right, but the Cynthia Coopers and Cheryl Swoops and the people who really, truly built this league, right? And who did not get to reap the rewards that you see the potential in today. Players today are very, very concerned with making sure that alumni players get their due, right? So things like that are also on the table. And so the elements that are personal here is that people are showing up and a lot of people are doing really, really good work. But I think needing a recognition of everyone's place in the partnership, because that's really what this is, right? If you don't feel a part of the upside, you don't feel like a real partner. And I think what the players are asking for is a recognition of their investment. And maybe that's not writing a check for a piece of equity, but it's a lot of sweat equity, right? It's a lot of inspiration equity. It's a lot of time that they've spent growing this thing too. And I think it's not just fair. I think that what's good for the players is good for the business. And we should want them to participate in that because we all know that we're incentivized when we own it too.
Not to gloss over the WNBA has had, I can speak from my experience going to Liberty games. In the last few years, you can see the change. I mean, year over year, it's like it's always a special environment, but you go now and every seat is filled. Merch sales are through the roof, right? Everything through the roof. The players are delivering such a undeniably excellent product. It's a really exciting time and the fan base is there. My question is, what can we all do as fans and as supporters of the players? How do we show up to make sure that the players are treated fairly? Because we all want that, right?
That's you.
I think what we can all do, what you guys can do, is continue to show how invested you are in the players. Obviously the teams, and we appreciate you coming to support us, but if people have specific things going on, their own separate brands. For example, I started Stewie's World, and I created these Stew York hats that I sold out in like 3 minutes, which I wasn't expecting to do. Every player has something like that where they're passionate about it. So a way to stay involved and to stay invested is to follow that passion too, or find the one that you have a similar interest in. And I didn't just bring my bag up here for like just because. I have a present for you.
For me?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So that's why I had to bring the bag. I had to give you a Stew York hat.
Oh my goodness! I mean, thank you.
Wow.
This is incredible.
It's
Sally's a
perfect.
big Liberty
It's perfect
fan.
for the sun.
Oh my goodness, thank
Sally
you.
loves the sports.
I mean, I love sports, truly. This is like the best moment of my life. Thank you. Okay, so support in this way. I love that. And as a founder, like I do, I appreciate bringing your fans into the conversation, because I think oftentimes we read the headlines and we're like, yeah, like WNBA show up and like come negotiate and like do what's right. But it is so significant that we all support you as well. And so I think understanding how to do that is an important part of it. Talk about the Unrivaled piece. Like, how do we support there? You mentioned it earlier, but buy tickets, come to games. Yep. What else can we be doing?
As far as Unrivaled, listen, come on down to Miami. If anybody's living in New York in the wintertime, it's supposed to be bad this year. So come take a little vacation trip down to Miami. We'll also be streaming 4 nights a week, TNT, True, those type of channels. So if you want to watch. And all your favorite players will be playing. So I strongly encourage you to do it. There'll be... Basically, I don't know what I'm supposed to tell and what I'm supposed to not, so I'm just getting in trouble for it later. There's going to be like a little shakeup between rosters and things like that. So we're going to keep you guys on your toes for what to expect for season 2, but really excited for it. There's also jersey sales, merchandise that the players actually do get a percentage of. The same with Breaking Tea, that's in partnership with the WNBPA. Like those things, players do get a percentage of. So if you want to buy something and support your players, I would say Breaking Tea, Unrivaled. We have plenty of things to offer.
Yeah, that's great. Lindsay, anything to add?
Yeah, and it's not, I remember, I don't know if this was maybe 10 years ago, I had this Google Doc. Were Google Docs around then? I think they were. Anyway,
Yeah, I don't know.
A long time ago. It might actually still be in my link tree. So I had a Google Doc of ways to help. Literally listening, like maybe I'm banging my head against the wall and people aren't listening because I'm not being plain enough in terms of how to support, because things like buy a jersey, click on an article, those things all matter, right? The algorithm, as we know, is going to feed us what we're looking for. And so it's when you're looking for women's sports or athletes to support and to be part of that movement, you're not doom scrolling. Right, you are actually contributing to my ability to go into a brand and say, Breanna Stewart is proving out what we know to be true, is that women athletes deliver at better than 2x return their male peers, right? And there's a reason. There's a reason because there's a stickiness, right, around the way that women athletes connect with their fans, and that's through all the different sort of multi-hyphenate layers of their identity. Their mom, their athlete, they also love certain things, they cook, whatever it is, they travel. And that stickiness stays, through movement out of a playing career. And so women athletes are really, really powerful ambassadors for brands. And so whether you're spending money to buy, Stewie's Etsy charm bracelet, Zoom, or you're just reading an article, that matters. Because when you read that article, it's going to get bumped up. I did a thing 15 years ago where I was just scrolling, not to be named, sports media property. And I would literally every day see how long it took me to get down to an article about the WNBA. And they were their media partner. And it was a long time. And then we wonder why people said it was hard to be a fan. Well, you couldn't find the writing. So now you can. It's easier to find, go find it, click on it, engage. And that actually helps women athletes.
I love this crowd. Do you feel like brands have been leading the way on compensating athletes? I think brands are always leading with the bottom line, right? And they see the opportunity. And so I do feel like that's where a lot of athletes are making their money. Or
women athletes make the majority of their money in endorsement income.
And now we're at that inflection point where hopefully it trickles into the business of the league, right? There's really no question there. Just a statement. I want to ask just advice from both of you to close out, and then I'm going to do a quick round of Would You Rathers. But advice for players entering the league now, because there has been this... each generation of player, I think, has played a really significant role in this conversation. And now there are new players coming in, and I'm going to compare it to sort of what we see in the workplace with Gen Z. Sometimes it's not as a straightforward conversation sometimes for them, if you will. So do you have any advice for new players entering the league? And Lindsay, for you, I want to ask if you have any advice for someone who wants to follow in your footsteps. You've really set the gold standard, I feel like, in terms of what it looks like to advocate for women athletes, but also make a career of it. So what does that look like coming in now? So would love to hear advice from both of you.
Okay. Wasserman Through the Collective actually has a futures cohort that we do provide opportunity for development and learning within women's sports. So that's something that we as an agency have as a specific focus. And that's not just for people just entering. That's also people that are in the industry who maybe want to make a lateral move or who want to be in a better position to make the business case, provide the business rationale for investing in women's sports and women athletes. But I think the advice I give is being an agent is hard. It's hard to be the one asking for the money. So it's a little bit easier to be the one spending the money, but it is really fun to be creative. And I think pressure, the kind of pressure that comes with representing transcendent, iconic athletes, makes you creative. And I enjoy that. I think it creates opportunity to try to think about things differently. I think back on the hardest years when I heard, no all the time, right, for marketing pitches, and now we hear no a lot less. Maybe they say no to the number I'm asking for, but that's okay, because you have to start somewhere. And if you're not hearing no, you probably didn't ask for enough. So if anybody here and I get into a negotiation, you can say, no, we're good. I'm just going to ask you to justify that and make sure that you're not paying the men more, because the NBA players should be paid equitably to the WNBA players for equal work. So I would just say that it's hard, but this is a people business. This is a relationship business, and that's what you need to be invested in. And when you have integrity and when you hustle and you're the person who can get stuff done, that's going to get you somewhere. But I know the big thing for Gen Z is the why. And that's okay too, because I know my why. Like, I know why I'm here, and it's really to serve and to lift and to connect. And there are jobs that speak to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very public display of what's happening in a lot of industries. We're underpaid, right? Like in that, there is gender inequity. We live in a patriarchy, but yours is playing out on a very public stage and with public figures. Stewie, advice for players entering the league now.
First of all, it's great to be able to actually see you guys and not have the sun be blazing in my face. Hi. I think my advice for players that are coming into the league, it's a little bit interesting and a little bit different because they've had a full round or a full 4 years of NIL. You know what I mean? So they've been building their brand. They've been negotiating deals. They've been getting paid.
Or 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, 5 or 6 or 7, depending on how long you stayed in college. You're there for a long time. They've been doing that. So that's not a foreign concept to them. I think that just kind of making sure that they continue that you don't settle for anything less, but then you also know that you're coming into a league that's the best of the best. And unfortunately, it is like survival of the fittest because there are not enough roster spots, and we will have 2 more teams being added. But make sure that you're doing it on and off the court, because I think that's the thing is sometimes you see it off the court and you don't see it as much on. When you come to the next level, you have to be well-rounded in all of it and really make sure that you know what is your main thing, and only you can decide that.
Yeah, and the power of the collective is really fascinating too. And I think this is a gift the generation above us gave us. And it's that scarcity mindset that's now become a mindset of abundance and recognition that all boats do rise with the tide. And like players coming together, there's only upside in that, and it's not a zero-sum game. All right, we've come to our game of Would You Rather. Just some quick rapid-fire questions.
So, like, do we go at the same time, or how does it go? I need to know the rules.
I've never done it with 2 people at the same time.
Oh, Sally.
I'm going to let you guys
That's
decide. Would you rather start work?
I got it. You guys got the joke. Sally missed it.
Wait, what'd you say? What'd you say? Okay, I'm going to have to...
Okay, Stewie's going to go first.
Okay.
Alternate if you want.
Okay.
Would you rather start work at the crack of dawn or burn the midnight oil?
Oh my God. So as you guys know, hopefully I have 2 kids. So I think I'll start at the crack of dawn because that's when I hear like dum 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 dum. That's Ruby walking into my room at like 6 a.m. every morning, and we try to do this thing with the red light, green light. Red light means stay in your room. Green light, wake up. She's like not understanding at all. So crack of dawn.
We did that for like a week. It was
Yeah.
like, this is the solve. This is incredible. And then a week later, it's like, cool. Well, that lasted.
She's already awake, and we go back in the room, and she's like, "Mommy, the light's green."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "No, you're supposed to stay in there until it's green, not come out and then show me." It's a nightmare. Crack of dawn.
Born negotiator. Ruby's ready.
Yeah, Ruby's crazy.
Would you rather go to school to learn a new skill or teach what you know to a class of newcomers?
Basketball was like, I don't want to learn a new sport, even though I am a little bit interested in pickleball. I'll teach what I know to the newcomers, to the next generation.
Great.
You didn't answer last one, did
Okay, so I have to answer 2.
you?
Yeah.
I'm a better writer. I think midnight oil. But I think I'm less afraid of my children waking up at that point, because in the morning it's like, oh my God, when are they going to wake up and disturb my flow? But I have to remember to do the send later so that I don't inundate my team with 45 emails at 3 o'clock a.m. Eastern time. So
Also,
answer the first question.
yeah, I also want to know, go back to school to learn a new skill or teach what you know to a class of newcomers.
I'm going to say learn a new skill because I feel like that
Basketball, if you will.
And
Yeah.
what skill?
Piano.
Okay.
Growing up playing the clarinet, I have found does not do a lot in my adult life. I blame my parents. Like the reed instrument is just not like super sexy. It doesn't happen in the like hotel lobby. So, and I'm Japanese, and I feel like culturally I should have been forced to play the piano.
This is supposed to be rapid fire.
Sorry. They're like looking for the reasons. I'm sorry, I don't get the game.
No, I get it. The why. They're looking for the why. Would you rather accidentally mark every email in your inbox as read or have your calendar get wiped?
Oh, I'd rather my calendar get wiped. Because then I don't have to do
No.
anything.
No.
She's the one putting all the stuff in my
No.
calendar, so just wipe it. Finish it.
I mean, who files their inbox anyway?
Inbox 0.
Congrats, Sally.
Thank you. I really asked the
That's
question.
an
just so I
endorsement
can
for
share that.
Superhuman. She uses it. I do not.
Superhuman.
Text me.
Would you rather only answer emails with emojis or only answer calls on FaceTime?
Emojis. I'm only answering emails with emojis. And if you FaceTime me, I'm probably not answering.
Yeah, same.
You should answer some in emojis. Also, I send messages at whatever time. 3 a.m., 1 a.m., 12 a.m.
That's true.
They'll figure it out somewhere.
That's true.
You're just being nice.
Clients get to do that.
Would you rather sit on a plane next to a loud talker or a loud chewer?
Oh.
This is the
Who are they
best
talking
crowd
to?
ever. I love this crowd.
Are they talking to me?
Loud talker, loud chewer. Do with it what you will.
I'm going to go with the chewer, and I just have my headphones and I'm looking somewhere else, but I'm afraid the talker's talking to me.
I don't know. I think I'm going to go the talker.
Me too.
The chewing thing, I
Gross.
hate that.
Yeah, it's gross.
I hate it.
It's
I
like
feel
a real thing
I feel
too.
like my ears can hear it, no matter if I'm close or far away.
Yeah, I'm with you. Would you rather accidentally leave your mic unmuted or your camera on?
Camera on's fine.
Yeah. Camera
Stewie's
on.
really funny, so I feel like she just answered correctly.
Honestly, I don't know. The camera still does the mic too, so
Yeah, but
It's
if
not
the
a
mic
trick
is
question.
on, like, I'm definitely talking, so I got a mic mute.
yeah, I'll mic mute too. I'm definitely talking shit a lot.
Same. I only learned later that you have to actually mute Google. Like, you can't mute your computer.
You learned the hard way?
Must have been interesting. But you're the boss, so like whatever.
Yeah.
You're all right.
What? Would you rather? I mean, I only talk nicely about people. Would you rather restart your career in the 90s or in the present day?
Ooh, 90s. I'm an investor.
You were born in the 90s.
I own all the teams. I don't know whose money it's with, but it's somebody's.
Wait, what'd you say? 90s?
Yes, because I'm going to buy all the teams. I know what I know now, right?
No.
That's
Yeah,
my-
we own the WNBA. Like, it's a whole different ballgame.
I don't know. I guess I'll say the other one. I'll start now. NIL. Oh,
You just
give me
got
that
insight into her
NIL.
personality. She's just trying to be the contrarian.
I'll take the NIL money.
Oh, yeah, that's actually a good call for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just have to say thank you to both of you. The work you are doing is so important for the league, but it is important for women, period. And
Thanks, Sally. That really is the point of the CBA conversation, though. I mean, real talk in terms of the way to participate. What is at stake, right, really is what is at stake for women in the workplace and being recognized for our work and for our contributions. And you have that in common with WNBA players. Like, it is a universal fight.
could not agree more. I also love the entrepreneurship of going out and starting a league stateside. Like, I think it's brilliant, and I'm very excited to follow along, support in all the ways. Thank you to Tech Futures for hosting this discussion. I'm going to end with our podcast sign off, which is a little bit trippy because it is live and not in a studio. But if you liked this episode, please find Work Friends wherever you stream your podcasts for new episodes. We release every other Monday. Follow at Argent on Instagram for all the updates on everything we're up to. Enjoy the rest of the summit. I'm going to ask if you guys have any closing remarks or anything we missed that you want to hit on.
My closing remark is thank you guys. Shout out to Sally because she sent this suit to my house literally at 1 o'clock. But it's always great to do things in New York City. So it's great being here and talking to you guys now.
Thanks for having me. Argent suits have pockets.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great
Thanks,
rest of
Sally.
your evening. Thanks for coming. And
Thanks,
thank you
Sally.
both. Thanks for listening to Work Friends, a podcast from Argent. Listen and follow on all podcast platforms. Subscribe to the Argent YouTube channel for more clips and bonus content. And follow us on Instagram @Argent for all the latest. And before you go, don't forget to give us a 5-star rating and leave a comment. It means so much to us. I'm Sally Christensen, and we'll see you next time.
Work Friends.
Work Friends is produced by Gina Marinelli with editing by Ryan Woldoff. Our theme music is by Karina De Piano and Melanie Naima. This episode was recorded live at the 2025 Tech Future Summit at Pier 17 in New York, New York.